Hello and welcome back everyone. In this video I'll talk about peer reviewers and how you can respond to them. So peer reviewers are physicians and or researchers in the same field of your study. They're not necessarily people who understand research methodology or academician. If you publish the paper, you may become one too. So the paper that you have published in may invite you to become a reviewer in one of the papers that were submitted to them. So most time it's single-blinded or double-blinded process, meaning that the reviewers will know your name but you won't know them, or the reviewers and the authors won't know each other. So why is peer review important? It is important because it critically assesses gaps of your papers and how to improve it. So once you finish your paper and submit it for publication, it is expected that there might be some grammatical errors, some errors in the methodology, and you want someone to give you feedback to improve it. So it's not an attack on your work, so never take it personally because it's really not. A good way of looking at it, peer reviewers are trying to improve your paper before it's published. Sometimes their comments may improve your paper and their feedback may make it even better and highlight some of the things that you have missed and how you can improve it. And the decision of the peer reviewers lead to the acceptance or rejection of your article. So how can you respond to the reviewer comments? So most journals, they will request 3 files. They will request the response to reviewer letter, meaning you would have all the reviewer comments in one file, for example, and you would respond to each comment separately. So you would have another file where you would have the manuscript with track changes. So using the track changes function on Microsoft Word. So you won't just reply to the comments. Sometimes they would request some changes and you need to change some part of the manuscript and you need to highlight those changes using the track changing function. And you would have the last file with the manuscript with the changes, however a clean version without the track function. So they won't know where were the changes that you have added. So you need to make these changes and send it back to the journal. So the journal decision can be one of the following. It can be accepted with minor changes after you submit the revision. Sometimes major changes and the acceptance is not guaranteed after the changes. Sometimes it's rejected and they will give you comments as well. And sometimes they will just reject your paper from the get-go. So we use the reviewer comments anyway because they are helpful. So if a journal have rejected your article but they gave you comments, use those comments from the reviewers because most likely another reviewer from the journal you will submit to next will have similar comments or the same comments as well. So you want to benefit from the previous comments. So when you respond to reviewers, you either make the changes that they requested, or you can justify why you prefer not to make the changes they requested and add a justification to the manuscript. So instead of just keeping things as it is, you would explain why you prefer to keep it and you add this justification to the manuscript. Sometimes you can make the change and combine between your input and their input instead of their input alone. Most researchers, they would just go ahead and make the changes that the reviewers requested. This is the general approach. However, I think you should try to negotiate with the reviewers and see what works for your paper and what doesn't. But try to be fair. Responding to reviewers, there are some considerations that you need to know. So be respectful and polite. It is never a personal matter. Sometimes some of the reviewers might be aggressive and they might say that this is too wrong, this is not correct, this does not make sense. So when responding, try to be respectful. Thank the reviewer once in the beginning for taking the time to review your paper, but don't overdo it. So don't thank the reviewer with each comment. Just thank them in the beginning once and then proceed to responding to each comment. When you disagree with the reviewer, disagree politely and explain your point of view. There are other considerations as well. Try to advocate for explanation and don't just go ahead and change everything that they have requested right away. But also consider that some of the reviewers may add to your paper. So some of the reviewers are specialized in the same field or specialty that you're conducting your paper in. And their feedback comes from expertise and previous research work or clinical experience. So their input is really helpful. However, some of them might be specialized in a different field completely, and they may give you some weird suggestion that may not align with your project. Sometimes you would get multiple rounds of revision. It can be 2 to 3 revisions or even more. And receiving reviewer comments from the journal and replying to them does not guarantee acceptance. You may reply to them once and twice and even up to 3 times, then they reject your paper eventually. So you can reply to reviewer comments and still get rejected. Make sure you respond to each point that they mentioned. You can't just respond to one point or multiple points and some of them you leave empty. You need to respond to each point, whether with adding the changes they requested or adding a justification for why you would prefer to keep it the same way. Do not just reply to the comments, you need to also make the edits within the manuscript. So if they requested a change, you can change it if you think this is the correct thing. If you don't think it's the correct thing and you prefer to keep it, then add a justification in the comments or in your reply to the comments, as well as your justification in the manuscript. Some journals, they have a deadline for revision submission. Take that into consideration. Sometimes it can be 3 weeks or even up to 1 month and a half, and they will give you a deadline within the email that you will receive. So you want to keep that into consideration as well. Remain optimistic, be patient, and be super persistent. Sometimes the peer review process takes a very long time. It can take several months, even up to 6 months as well. So when you notice a delay, for example, after 1 to 2 months, you can opt to contact the journal and see if there's any updates regarding your project to try to speed up the process as well. And sometimes they would respond quickly, and you can just respond to them quickly as well. So let me show you an example of the files I talked about. So response to reviewer comments. So here you can see reviewer A and all the comments he have mentioned. Yes, there were so many comments in this project. Then you have reviewer D as well. There are 2 different, usually you would have 2 different independent reviewers. Each of them does not know each other. And as you can see here, with each comment you would respond. And I have highlighted my replies in red so they can distinguish as well. So this is just an example here. Let me show you another example of the track changes function. So this is the manuscript that I have submitted. The track changes function, that means if you hit here, you will see the things that I have added, or also the thing that I have deleted, for example. So here's an example, for example. So it will show to them that I have deleted this. If they close this, they will know that there has been a change made here, and they will see that I have removed this as well. You can do this to add the track changes. Here you can remove the track changes, so you can delete things without them noticing. Not necessarily, but with the track change function, it keeps everything documented. All the changes are documented. And once you're done, you want to keep a copy of the manuscript without track changes. So they can use this once your article got accepted, and they use it to take this into the format of their journal for the publication process. So I believe this is the last video, and I hope you find this video series very useful. Research is a journey, and it takes so much time, so much patience, and so much persistence. So be patient, be really persistent. Whenever something gets in the way, try to see how you can negotiate your way around it. Try to be persistent, keep contact with your co-authors as well as your research supervisor, as well as the journal and reviewers. Try to always keep up with your research project and try not to overwhelm yourself, and try to take it one project at a time as much as you can. and I hope you find this useful and helpful, and best of luck.